Hey everybody, John Tobin here, former Hudson Valley radio personality. Now I'm doing some political blogging and a podcast. And a guest on my podcast today is a good friend of mine. Full disclosure, I've known this guy personally for about 8 years. I find him to be a great guy, a guy with a lot of integrity, certainly a very bright guy. My friend Professor Glenn Geher from SUNY New Paltz. He's running for the Ulster County Legislature in the 12th District, which is Plattekill, a town where we both have lived and Glenn currently resides.
Yep.
So how's the process been for you so far? It's something you haven't, as far as, you've run for election on campus.
Sure.
To become the chairman of the psych department successfully every time, I'll add. How do you compare the two experiences of running for office?
Yeah, it's the phrase campaign trail is absolutely on target, man. Every day it's a brand new adventure. It's a brand new fire you're putting out, or a brand new initiative that you're pushing, or a brand new group of people that you're meeting with. Brand new set of ideas you never even thought about before. So it's I'm absolutely loving it so far, and I'm really enjoying the opportunity to meet so many great neighbors in the town of Plattekill that I didn't even know about.
Right. And have you met some people who are currently in the legislature?
Yeah. So I've met a bunch of people that are currently in the legislature. Great people. I've become pretty close with Tracy Bartels, who represents Gardner, Hector Rodriguez, who represents New Paltz. These people have been strong supporters, and I've just have huge admiration for what they do, and when I get into the position, I'm sure that I will seek out their mentorship quite a bit. And I'm also supported by the Women's Equality Party, by the Working Families Party. We also created something called People for Plattekill, which is our own brand new party with a line on the ballot coming up. So there's a lot of excitement about this among the Democrats right now.
Okay, people watching this video are thinking to themselves, what are his strengths?
Okay.
What are your strengths?
Sure. Well, I come at this.
And don't be modest.
Okay, I'll take you up on that. So I come at this from the background of an educator. I'm not a lifelong politician. I was never interested in running for office until,
But campus politics can be a little hairy.
Yeah, campus politics can be out of control.
And Woodrow Wilson, I don't want to paraphrase, what did Woodrow Wilson say?
Sure, so Woodrow Wilson was famous for being president of the United States. Before that, he was president of Princeton University, and his famous quote is that he left Princeton to get out of politics, right? So the joke there is that, academia is filled with politics. There is nastiness, there is backstabbing, anything.
There's a lot of opinionated people who are,
sure,
sharp and feel they have something to say, and they bring it to the table.
Absolutely.
Which is another issue. You are part of the Free Speech Task Force. So tell everybody about the Free Speech Task Force, what your goals are, what your responsibility is on that committee,
sure,
and what the results have been.
Sure, yeah. So a couple years ago on campus, there was a speaker disinvitation situation. So in other words, there was this guy, Cliff Kincaid, pretty conservative guy.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was kind of a big deal. And he was set to come speak on campus. A lot of people were upset about who this guy was, and he essentially got disinvited, which made a lot of us upset, because wherever you are politically, this is still the United States of America, and we allow for multiple perspectives. Freedom of speech is a very basic part of the First Amendment. It's a very basic part of the foundation of our country.
And just from an academic perspective, being open to other perspectives has to be essential.
Absolutely. I mean, how can you possibly make advances in understanding anything if you think that there's only one right answer, and that's the only answer that you allow to drive what you're doing in terms of seeking knowledge? You're just not going to really advance in understanding what's going on. So multiple perspectives is absolutely essential at all levels. So
it's a given that in your community on campus, you've affected positive change. What sort of positive changes do you have in store? What are your goals for Plattekill?
Sure. Plattekill's an interesting place. I've lived there for 10 years. I love Plattekill. I've had very strong connections with Plattekill Day and with the community in general. But I'll tell you that one thing that Plattekill doesn't really have is much of an identity. So when you go to New Paltz, there's a strong New Paltz identity. Walkla has a strong identity. Just as an example, I have a Plattekill t-shirt that I purchased, and I got it at Hannaford, and it was sitting there for weeks on the rack, and then eventually I said, well, I'm going to
mark down a couple times?
It was marked down, yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the guy who owns the Plattekill t-shirt, but...
That's kind of true. It's almost the flyover state of Ulster County towns.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Route 32, and there isn't a lot of centralized business.
Sure. Yeah.
Just that little S curve.
Yep. Yep.
And maybe up the line a little bit, a couple of dollar stores and
Right.
Stewart's, but
Right. Yeah.
you'd like to.
Absolutely. I mean, couldn't you picture, south of the Stewarts, between Stewarts and the park, there's a whole bunch of old buildings that have for sale signs on them. And, I've talked to some of the folks who've been around and they say, oh, we've tried that before. It's not going to happen in Plattekill. But to be honest, I think young, new blood, new ideas, new energy, we get new people into office in this town. And I think we're going to have the capacity to actually
Right.
shake things up a little bit,
And you've been pretty effective as a guy who can acquire grant money.
Yeah,
So talk about that and how you
Sure.
might bring those skills to the table.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So I've gotten, as a faculty member at New Paltz, I've received several grants for lots of different things. The biggest one, from the National Science Foundation, we got $500,000 allocated to us and to Binghamton for coming up with what were considered, I think, cutting edge ideas to advance science education in higher education. And it was not easy to get that grant, but we worked hard and we made it happen, and we spent that money well, and we got a lot of good products out of it. And I would absolutely love to be there in the county legislature and seeking money from the county, from the state, from the national level, and so forth. I think there's got to be tons of opportunities.
Dr. Glenn Geher, running for the 12th District in Ulster County, and November 7th, check your mail, find out where your polling place will be. Get out and vote for this guy. He gets my personal endorsement as a very good friend of mine for long standing. God, close to 10 years, I guess I've known you.
Absolutely.
And I really couldn't offer you a better guy to vote for. So November 7th, get on out and vote for Glenn Geher, District 12, Ulster County Legislature.
See you at the polls.